6 o'clock.
Recording in progress.
Good evening. I'd like to call the May 6th Town Board meeting to order. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I don't really have much to report. I just want to remind everyone that e-waste is still being collected. This is, computers, electronics, anything that would be considered e-waste is still being collected for free. We have a container behind the highway department from 7:30 to 3 p.m. I believe. If you were to go to the county and drop off your e-waste, they charge you a fee for it. This is a free service to all town residents. All right, do we have any correspondence tonight?
No.
All right, so we will go ahead and move on to our public comment. Does anyone here from the public want to speak?
We do have Bart Rasnick.
Bart Rasnick, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. The town board, with the guidance of the town attorney, revisited the town's noise ordinance, and there were portions that were changed and other portions that were tweaked. However, if one does not read the Democrats' legal notices to see that this was being addressed, you really wouldn't know. Nor, if you don't read the actual ordinance, you wouldn't know the contents or the ramifications of violating any portions therein. A portion of the ordinance was to address the music that is being played every Friday evening over outdoor loudspeakers from our religious communities. My residents, I can hear music from the Raleigh, Alpine, and when the community on La Vista is open, I can hear that as well. I can also hear the music coming from town as well. Though I am Jewish, I find the music and Shabbos siren annoying and disrespectful to the citizens of South Fallsburg, who do not want to be subjected to this type of music. The music is played after code enforcement is closed for the day, so the only other alternative would be to call the police, and I'm sure that on a Friday afternoon, the police certainly have more pressing assignments than telling communities to turn the music off. My suggestion and recommendation to the board would be to instruct the town attorney to write a cover letter outlining the main points of the revamped noise ordinance. He should then give the cover letter to the code enforcement office, who can then attach a copy of the noise ordinance with the cover letter and have it mailed to all the religious communities within the township, or give the packet to the code enforcement inspectors, so while they are out doing their inspections or going by a community, they can stop in and hand it to someone in charge. That would be good public relations, kind of giving a warning before a citation is written. So basically, this is not a religious issue. It becomes a quality of life issue for all the citizens outside of the religious communities. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak tonight?
Adam Ingber.
Right, come find the keys. Sign?
We got it.
Okay, thank you. You doing everybody? Actually, we're gonna print something. Okay, this is actually regarding the building department. It's not here. Okay, well, the building department is led by the comp.
Your time's up.
No,
Go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, really?
Go ahead.
You're good.
Well, it's in there now, show. Okay, so now, while the building department is led by an incompetent individual, he is not to be blamed solely for his ineptitude. If the town board will not hold someone accountable for not doing what they are hired to do, but first claims to me he doesn't have the authority to do what he is supposed to do, then there are serious issues there. It took me all 30 minutes to research what needs to be done to learn and to see what the town of Fallsburg E-Code says, and that is an embarrassment on the department. We've had for at least 2 years now illegal basements and a 2,500 square foot illegal addition in my neighborhood. This is just a 2-block radius. With the help of someone who I will not name because it would be unfair, and I don't want anyone to get any backlash from this, with the exception of myself, because I have nothing to gain. But I'm only looking to save lives because it's only a matter of time before a tragedy will occur. I don't care how others perceive what I'm doing. I do not care that anybody from the town board or building department wants to do something about it. I'm not sure if you're afraid of, I'm not sure if you are afraid that the development is owned by Orthodox Jewish people, Orthodox Jews I should say, and you cannot upset the JCC. It's gotta be one or the other, or again, because the zoning department just doesn't know what the code is. Is it because you just don't care, you don't know that, or is it because you don't need the extra revenue that would come from knowing that the basements are completed? So with that being said, that was just the basic thing. You guys not only have the authority to do, to go in, because again, this is what the building department, head of the building department, I would like to say his name TJ, but I don't know if it got changed this week, because there's so many different people that get changed in the department on a regular basis. But he told me that he doesn't have the authority to go in there, because he would have to have basically what is in the police would call a warrant, right? Well, under short-term residential rentals, properties used as short-term transient rentals under 30 days unoccupied by the owner, or the owner have that right to go in there. Once you do that, let's go to the next page. A permit is required, right? A permit is required to get that. Therefore, the permit would allow for complete inspection not only of the house, but of the, on this one house, the illegal structure, or real quick, the basement itself, okay? And lastly, not only that, where it really would hurt them in the pocket, and this is the problem, if you just give them a fine that's gonna be equivalent to what a building permit would actually cost, they're gonna do it anyway, they're gonna continue to do it because it's not gonna stop them, because you're gonna have 2 years of income coming in before you actually have to get something approved, right? However, the law does state, this is not my law, you guys wrote this, somebody wrote it in the town, you are allowed to go after up to the defendant's gain, amount, not exceeding double the amount of the defendant's gain from commission of the offense. So therefore, if you have a rental for 2 years, like, I don't know, 40,000, we really have to do the math, that's an $80,000 if you decide to go to do that, to go after that amount. So, again, unless I'm missing something, I think the town can use every penny they could find, and this amounts to not just more than pennies. So what I'm actually offering, I'm offering my free services, that doesn't just sound right. What I'm offering now is to do something for you guys at no charge, okay? And because again, this is in my block, there's 4 houses, just in the 2-block radius. I'm gonna assume there's gotta be at least 75 to 100 probably in the town that have illegal basements. You take that, let's say it's 100, I'm not knowing what the numbers are for the basements for the tax purposes, but let's just say $2,000. It's about $200,000 that can be found very, very easily. On top of that, then you can find them for these other violations for actually making money off of doing things that they were never authorized to do in the first place. With that said, there's some other things I wanted to say, but I'm gonna leave for another time. But yeah, I really do think that the building department needs to be looked at by the town boards, and you guys do oversee that. Have a conversation with them, and actually, they do claim that the hardest working department in the town, which is kind of odd since they're only open from 8:30 to 4:30. Never seen them work overtime or on the weekends, so other than when they're at the meeting.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you very much. And I don't need any money from this. This is the greatest of my heart.
All right, would anyone else from the public like to speak tonight?
No, you didn't. I didn't.
Please step up, sir.
Hi, David Schlesinger. I'm not a speaker, but I'm very distraught that the person before me bundled in all Jews. There are people who do wrong, there are people who do right. You can't take a whole group and bundle them into one. I'm sorry, it's unacceptable.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone from the public like to speak tonight?
Can I speak again? Can I rebuttal?
No.
Okay.
Sure.
Am I sure you said or
Please.
not?
No, he was,
gonna say,
yeah.
Please step up, ma'am.
Hi,
Just give your name so that we
my
can write it
name
down.
is Florence Shima, Cheema. Where is, what's the guy's name, Ocean?
Joe Borello.
Corrado.
Oh, God.
I don't see him. Anyways, doesn't really matter. I've been living here, 21 years. I moved from Brooklyn. Before I moved here, my son was born very premature. He's autistic. I'm gonna get a little emotional, but I'm sorry. My son was born 2 pounds. Okay, we moved here because he was always sick, and we wanted a house that's not too far from the hospital. So we bought this house. Okay? From the minute I bought the house, every day, the next door neighbor are on the property. Now, I don't own ATV, I don't own a golf cart. Every single day, I kept telling them, you can't come onto the property because the insurance didn't even kick in. So the gentleman said, oh, the other people used to let me go in, do whatever I want. I said, well, I'm the new owner, the insurance didn't kick in. I spent $20,000 to clean the property because of the garbage. The guy used to have every weekend, what they call garage sale. Okay, so we cleaned it up, and my son has a roof over his head. We're not on welfare. I'm not on any public assistance. I paid $8,000 between property tax and school tax. $2,000 for home insurance. My son right here, he's my life. I almost died to have him. But every day I get up, they tell me to leave. My son, he's innocent. He's a stupid asshole. You tell somebody.
Wait a minute, who's telling you to leave?
The next door neighbor. You're telling a kid, an innocent person, he's a stupid asshole. He's a handicap. He's autistic. Every single day, I'm being threatened. Leave, they're asshole.
Oh, they want us to die. Oh,
Yeah,
they would
you're
rather
dead.
see us die.
You're dead.
Have you tried calling the police?
We called the police, Fallsburg, mind you, I paid $10,000. Why am I supporting this? $10,000 is a lot. Or we can't do anything. I called the state trooper. We went to the state trooper. We can't do anything. But every day, he's stupid. That's a lot of money. Like, what are we doing? How can I fix that? I cannot take my son back to Brooklyn. He's sick. The more people that's around him, the sicker he gets. He got COVID. Every day I take him to the hospital. Every week, twice a week, we're at the hospital. But I'm supposed to leave because we're the wrong skin color? Because he's stupid? What's the problem? Mind you, I have a college degree. I speak 4 languages. but my son is stupid. I'm an asshole. Now, should I go public with this? Should I call, Spectrum, CBS, Channel? What am I supposed to do? I can't take him anywhere. I cannot leave the town. I cannot do that. He's dead. The police will help me. Now, he's the public here. He's a young man. He's done nothing wrong to nobody. Never disrespect anybody. Utmost respect, love.
Can we get, you need to calm down.
Yeah.
You're gonna make yourself kid.
I know.
Can we get your phone number, your name, and let's see what we can do for you?
Leave it with
Please,
Kristen.
leave it with Kristen.
Thank you.
And we
Please
will
just help
try.
us. He cannot leave. He's dead if he leaves.
There's no reason why you have to go anywhere.
Thank
Just
you.
please give her
Ocean, go give your name and
information.
number. I'm sorry, but this has been going on for years. Thank you.
Mom, your
Yes.
name and phone number also.
My son, he'll give you my name.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to speak tonight?
I have.
I just would like to speak again. I'm so happy Nathan is here. I wanted to say congratulations to his daughter on graduating and being the salutatorian. Yeah, I just wanted to say that all the teachers are still emailing me, Mr. Towsley and Miss Rapp. And every time I email Miss Rapp, we're always talking about you and about Mr. Lubner. Yes.
Thank you. Alright, another opportunity for members of the public to speak tonight during public comments. Is there anyone online that would like to speak? Anyone on Zoom?
Nope.
Okay, alright, so if that's the case, I'm gonna close the public comment portion and we're gonna move on to our agenda items for tonight. So, first item on the agenda, motion to approve warrant number 04B25 in the amount of $416,884.20, dated 4/30/2025.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye, motion passes. Number two, motion to approve town board minutes dated 4/29/2025.
Motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second? I have a second, all in favor? Aye, motion passes. Number three, motion to approve employment of Heather Manor as seasonal office/clerk in the Parks Department with pay of $16.75 an hour effective 4/22/25.
Motion.
I have a
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number three, motion to approve employment of the following laborers in the Parks Department. Steve Brust with an hourly pay of $18 an hour, effective 4/25/25, and Evan Cross with an hourly rate of $16.25 per hour, effective 4/28/25.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number five, motion to approve employment of Special Patrol Officer Richard Prouty with an hourly rate of $33 per hour, effective 5/19/25.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number six, motion to appoint Steve Burke to fill the vacant seat on the zoning board until 12/21/2025.
Motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second? I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. And number seven, motion to appoint Steve Burke to fill the vacant chairman seat on the zoning board until 12/31/2025.
Motion. Second.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Welcome back, Steve.
Welcome home.
Alright, so number eight, Motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign a bid opening, analysis, certification, and recommendation letter required by the New York State DOT in connection with the Sullivan O&W Rail Trail Never Sink Trail Gap Construction Project.
Motion.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number 9, this is essentially, we passed this, the previous meeting, however, there was a mistake on the resolution, I think it was the dollar amount, or.
Yeah, first paragraph dollar amount.
Yeah, so it's really the same resolution from before. The dollar amount is, it's all covered through it's a funding commitment letter, for the various, grants that we have to help fund the Never Sink Crossing project, which is the bridge that we're looking to do that would, link both sides of the rail trail going over the Never Sink Bridge, going over the Never Sink River. But we have to, commit to the funding in order for some of these grants to go through. So we had the wrong amount on the last, resolution. We're essentially just looking to correct that here. So number 9, Resolution 44 of 2025, amended, authorizing funding commitment required by DASNY in connection with the Never Sink Crossing Project, state and municipalities project ID 23953. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Alright, so that's it for our agenda items for tonight. We're gonna move on to one discussion item for tonight. This is in regards to, essentially, creating a, workforce housing, at a new location, 5798 State Route 42. It's a 4.3 acre, parcel of land that's owned by the town. And we're looking to, develop approximately 40 to 60 units on that property. That's what we're gonna discuss here tonight. So, we did discuss this previously, but now we're looking at a new location because the jail annex is gonna be used for our new, highway department. And so this seems like a suitable, piece of property for us to be able to work on this project. Does anyone have any comments, questions about this?
My first comment is I really think the annex works best because of the infrastructure that's there. We're talking less than 5 acres. I think it just works best there, but I also like the location of the 4 acres on 42. I'm just not sure if it's buildable in terms of what we're looking to do, but that's just my initial thought.
Do we know if like there's, grading, slopes, I know there's a lot of trees there, we're gonna have to clear. I mean, do we know if it's a suitable piece of property for development?
Based on what Pembroke preliminary looked at there, they're not 100% sure. They like the annex site better, that's for sure.
Cleared?
Because it's cleared and more developed, and this, you really don't know what you're getting into. So that was kind of the feedback that I got from them. They took a look at it, and that's where we're at. So I'm not set on one or the other. It just makes, there's more grant opportunities and funding opportunities going in the prison annex than there would be going here.
Why? Because it used to be a prison annex?
Correct.
How's that?
Because there's state funding to reallocate resources or old resources out. So that's how. So, but you can still get and capture some other funding as well with the 4 acre property that Councilman Steingart had suggested. So like if you went with a mixed use and had a daycare, for example, you can still go after momentum funding. So there are funds that you can still go after, but there are more funding opportunities going at the prison annex.
Momentum funding will automatically apply only because we're looking to create additional housing.
And with mixed use, you have to have a certain commercial component to it, so like a daycare or a community component with it. So you're right, but there's a little bit more to it. So one of the things that we had talked about last time was looking at potentially other areas that may have done something like this. So I did some research, and this is one of the agreements that Penrose, and I think it's one page, but you're gonna pass it, because I figured that everybody would need a copy, and we'll probably put that somewhere in public. So I did some research, and this is the agreement of purchasing. Now, we can't sell this, if it was the prison annex, we can't sell it. If it's the 4-acre property, could you? Yes. My thought, again, it's just my thought, is that whatever developer is there, we would lease the land and then set up a pro forma. This way the town can control, to an extent, the rental rates and ensure that basically the public doesn't get hosed. So their lease would rise or fall based on them having the available housing and demographic that we're looking for in terms of money, finances. The other part of that one's from Ulster, and this is a draft RFP from Croton, a village of Croton on the Hudson, which is slightly smaller than us. But this is what they did in terms of looking for other, looking to develop some of their village-owned property. So they're actually, it's the development of village-owned property parcels. So I did some more research, and want to pass that around here so they have copies. And again, these things, this one's a little older, but it kind of goes in line to what some of the things that we've discussed. And I know behind the scenes, I sent a email to everyone with the actual Ulster County RFP for their prison site, which is what we've been talking about doing. So I sent that earlier this morning, I believe. Those things being said, we know we need housing for workforce. We know we need it for veterans. We know we need it for seniors. But those things being said, it's really up to us to decide what that vision looks like and to give a direction on what we want to do. And I did hear some concerns before, but I don't know if there's other concerns. And certainly I think if there are concerns, let's put them out on the table, start mapping them out, and trying to address all those concerns. I know one concern was whether or not our legal team can handle it in terms of the amount of work that has to get done, and I would propose that that become the issue. We have an RFP to have a legal firm come in and help us with this process and help ensure the vision of the board is met without putting a burden on our current staff, if that is something the board would like to do.
So these are RFPs. Do we have any completed projects that we can look at where?
Nobody asked for completed projects.
No one asked for RFP either.
You did.
It's
You did last week. You did the last time I was here, sorry, that you asked for RFPs, the sample RFPs that you can look at. So a completed project would be what they're doing in Ulster, what they did in the Ulster site, which you guys got the
RFP today?
the RFP today for the Ulster site, and you got the
It's not a
website.
completed project.
So you want a completed project in New York State, is that what you're asking for now?
I mean, in New York State, I just want to know what the possible outcomes are for this kind of model.
Anything else?
I have just a general question. Say we decided we all were in favor of moving ahead with this. Could we just pick one developer to build a project? We'd have to go out to bid, I would think, wouldn't we?
We would have to go out to bid, it would be my recommendation. I think in order just to keep things fair, you'd
I'm
have
saying
to.
legally, I think we have to, probably,
Yeah, you have to go out to bid. While we have an organization that's interested, we absolutely need to go out to bid.
How would we, I guess, when we put out the RFQ or, RFP or SOQ, whatever we end up putting out, we'd have to define the parameters, are we looking to mirror Kingston's project? Are we looking to mirror, I guess, Croton on the Hudson's project, like, I think it's important that we talk details, like what is it that we're looking to do? What's the mixed use? What's the,
how many units.
Well, that's the conversation now, right?
Right, so that's-
So I mean, I don't know what that is, so
What is all that money?
what do you guys think that is, right?
I don't know, also the structure, like, I'm concerned about, you know,
Nobody wants to look like the projects, let's just say it out loud.
somebody likes what?
Nobody wants to look like the projects, let's just say it out loud. Nobody.
The what project?
The projects.
Oh, no,
Like,
I mean,
like, nobody wants to look like the projects, nobody wants to look like a trailer park, nobody wants that. People want it to look like their front, right?
aesthetics are important, yes, I
Right.
agree. I'm also looking at profit motive, you know, because the idea is, you know, I'm just weary about the idea of, you know, a developer keeping millions of dollars in rents every single month. You know, it would be better if we dealt with either a municipality doing the work, if we did it ourselves and cut out the whole profit motive for a developer, or if we were to contract with, you know, even nonprofits can create profit, really. Affordable housing is incredibly important. It's a matter of how we do it. And also on the flip side, you know, how much does a 4-acre parcel of land cost, and why wouldn't a private developer wanna just acquire 4 acres and build this entire project? Really, all they need from us is approvals to build so many units on such small amount of land.
Well, just looking at the RFP, to sort of focus it, because it's kind of amorphous, the way we're talking about it. The RFPs have a statement of purpose, and I'll just read what Ulster County put in to sort of maybe focus. So the statement of purpose would be just a general kind of thing, aspirational goals. County of Ulster is requesting a statement of qualifications from housing development firms to develop an affordable mixed-income housing project at a county-owned site at Golden Hill in the city of Kingston. As part of this SLQ, the county also seeks site development concepts from responders. Under this SOQ, the successful firm will be expected to execute a development agreement with the county or an assigned local development corporation formalizing the specific contractual responsibilities. Now, that would be a county level scenario. I don't believe the town has the authority to create such an authority. Again, details to be determined. And then it gets a little more specific. The project seeks to construct affordable housing development in a portion of the county's holdings on Golden Hill, generally referred to as the old jail site. Portions of the site are currently utilized for county purposes. These uses would be relocated from the site as required, so we don't have that. I'm not going to read about the existing jail structure. The county intends to work collaboratively with the chosen developer and the city of Kingston, so this is a combination partnership scenario with the county and the city. Consistent with the need for affordable housing, available program funds, and the community's vision for the future. And then it talks about the city of Kingston. So then it talks about the county anticipates a mixed funding program will be needed for the project that includes site planning and location of a suitable building site, design and development of new mixed-income buildings, public spaces and parking, demolition of existing site, we don't have that, accommodation of special need population, including support. And then it talks about the aspirational goals of it, creating residential opportunities with a range of income levels, availability for all generations. So that would be your area, is it area median income, AMI? AMI that they use. Provide broad level affordability. So even though, you know, we talk about workforce, it's really, you know, income 80% to 120 or whatever. So it's really more of an income base, but it's referred to as workforce. Include with the project the needed support and recreational amenities that meet the needs of whoever's going to live there. Identify and if practical create space for commercial opportunities and commercial programming. Ensure seamless access to public transport, that's not us. Recognize the site's assets, particularly views of the Catskills. So I don't know if that's site dependent. I think this prison overlook the Hudson. I don't it's in
You would know, right?
a high location, right?
What's that?
The old prison in the city of Kingston.
in the city of Kingston.
Yeah, no, I know what, look at the,
I would assume that it has
It's
scenic
higher up,
views
yeah.
of the Catskills.
and then use.
I mean, that's like the whole prison point, right? You get a scenic view in the prison.
That's what the
Yeah,
architect.
And use renewable energy and green building practices was that. And then it goes through the specific requirements having to do with, details, so you can make a decision, resumes of key personnel, examples of projects that illustrate the team's or resume. And then it talks about, what the specific items that are requested in the packet. So, the concept has to be, it's broad enough to give the flexibility to have them bring ideas.
Right.
But it has to give them enough guidance so that they know, what you're looking for.
Right. I mean,
And then to your question that you had earlier, I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, I don't think as a town we should be in the business of being a landlord. I think the flexibility of,
but we are anyway, we'd have control.
we do, yes, you want control, but we have to protect the public interest. That control is through the lease agreement and leveraging the lease agreement. But
Right.
beyond that, like the day-to-day, the building, the construction, the management, no. Like, we will screw this up. Like, there's no way we don't screw it up.
So why wouldn't we go into like an MOA or an MOU with like the Woodridge Housing Authority that has experience with day-to-day management of affordable housing units?
It doesn't matter who, but like, we shouldn't be doing it.
I understand, but they are a governmental agency, they are not a
But they're experts,
for-profit,
yes, but they're experts.
corporation.
But, again, we put out an RFP as an outline of a vision, kind of like what we got from Ulster. And let's see what can be done in those spaces, right? What people come back, or what developers come back with. And then we shape it from there. But as for us as a government, no, we should not be in that business. Right, but Woodridge Housing Authority, whether it's a Penrose or whatever, yeah, they're the experts, we don't know what we're doing.
Well, Penrose is a for-profit corporation, so the other thing with regards to the
Well,
SOQ.
this one, I haven't really studied it.
And by the way,
But
Penrose won that contract.
This is an LDC. Someone presented this contract at this board at some point, didn't they?
Well, they presented
was-
here.
They talked about
couple
this.
weeks ago.
They talked about it, yeah, but this is the actual contract.
So, there are some details that you'd have to give some thought to, because this one, is a situation where it contemplated the local development corporation being the conduit to complete it, which would require some partnership with the county, and working together with the county.
Well, with the Kingston property, I guess this property, 51% is owned by the entity, whether it's Penrose or the non-profit.
Yeah, they sold it, right.
So, in a sense, you kind of lose control. I mean, you have a certain amount of influence, but you do lose control by giving it to a for-profit
I agree, that's
entity.
nowhere in this proposal at all.
Um,
Because if we're going to do this, the town needs to protect the public. And the public protection is through the lease, and sale is off the table. It's lease.
That's why I always say, I would also say that if we handle it on a governmental level, like the Woodridge Housing Authority managing it, I think that would give us ultimate control also, because really they're just there to manage, and they don't have any kind of profit motive or anything associated. The other concern I have is that, if we have to be careful how we put out the RFP, because this RFQ or SOQ states that a selection, one of the selection criteria is, a developer with experience in financing, developing, owning, and managing affordable housing. So that, in a sense, it's almost crafted to be specific to very large, specialized developers, as opposed to really anyone that can do the job.
So what would you change specifically?
I would break it up, like I would put out the development side on one, the management side on another, and not necessarily mix the two.
So, wait, can you explain that a little bit differently, so how would you split it up? Like, what does that look like? So if you're looking
Meaning
for
the-
someone to
the
come.
right, someone to come to build it, that
That's
may
what
not
it was.
necessarily
Oh, 'cause
be
you want
the
a
one.
different builder and a runner, right? Management? So you
Well,
want
it doesn't,
that,
it could be either or.
It could- or it
You
could be
shouldn't-
both. They
You
could
shouldn't
provide
narrow
both.
it down where
they have both.
where you're limiting it to only a few
Right,
larger
so
companies that
you can
do all
have
of it.
one or the other, right?
Right,
Is that what, that's what you're saying?
yeah.
You don't have to have both?
Right, it doesn't
Makes
have to be
sense.
one entity that does everything.
Yeah,
that
somebody
it
build it,
does.
somebody else
Okay.
manage it.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
The other thing, my other concern is that what is it gonna end up looking like? Cause, you know, this is a 164 unit, project on 20 acres, mainly consisting of 2 mid-rise apartment buildings, you know. For the city of Kingston, apartment buildings are fine, that's in their zoning, but what's that gonna look like for a town where
Well, that's what we
you
said.
can't have more than 35 feet
Right.
structures, so can we realistically fit 40 to 60 units on 4
Well,
acres?
But that's,
You know?
but we're not builders, right? So here's the parameters, y'all figure it out, and then come back to us, right? And so,
So
Put it
what
out
are
for
we,
bid.
so what are we putting out?
but,
Then we have
2
this
to
property that
100
we're looking
units?
for somebody to come and make a proposal.
yeah, and here's the guidelines that you gotta follow. And then we look at it and go, this looks good, this looks awful.
So what's the guidelines? Is it, you have to conform to our zoning codes?
Absolutely.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, that's no choice.
So if that's the case, you know, on 4 acres, if you have water and sewer, then there's a half an acre per
We know we're
house.
changing the acreage
So that's
to,
eight-
for multi-use, so we're
so
gonna
8
change it to,
units.
what is it, RE, what did we say it was, Jen?
I think you needed,
HR,
I think you need HR.
right?
So,
Alright, so we have to change the zone to HR.
so then the densest zoning allowed is half an acre per unit, so that's 8 units for 4 acres. Assuming that all 4 acres are developable.
Is this for public use?
So you're saying,
Is it for public use?
so are you saying create a carve out because it's public use?
I'm not saying the word carve out, I'm asking you if it's public use. Yes or no?
Yes, that's the whole reason we're here.
Right, so, I think because it's a public use, we could be okay changing the zoning to an HR, which would be multi-use unit, multi-units.
So what is the zoning for HR? How many units are allowed per acre?
Half acre per unit. right?
Half acre per unit, that's the densest
Right.
that the town
Doesn't-
allows.
We have multi-unit, how did they build Main Street housing? How?
I don't know, I'm not familiar with that SBL enough to know.
I mean, Main Street housing was there when I was a kid, so it's
Yeah.
50 years old.
It's gonna be grandfathered in.
So then,
Change it however you want.
so if they figured out how to build Main Street housing, I think with the law, we could figure this one out too. If we're saying specific for the public use.
Okay, so
Right.
then it comes down to creating a carve out because of the current zoning doesn't allow that.
Town board
Perhaps
change
that-
it.
Perhaps it was allowed back then and grandfathered in and was allowed to.
I'm sure our zoning was
refurbish.
very different 60 years ago.
Maybe
very much
before
so.
zoning, 60 years ago, maybe before zoning. Entirely.
Right.
I don't know when the zoning code was adopted, but
I mean, yeah, you look at some
the
places.
original code was adopted in 1971.
So more than 50 years ago.
So you look
So,
at the.
so there was no, they probably
Sean was
had,
looking at the duplex development under special permit for the HR zone. That's what he was
And
looking
what
at.
is that?
What is that?
Now you gotta look up the whole code.
you said special permit?
It's a special permit use. It's section 310-5-.30.
I'm looking at the use of both. Let's see what's-
Yeah, that's right in the whole code.
The other thing we have to look at is, I'm sorry, while you're looking at that, the other thing we have to consider is what's the mix, you know, what do we want to be, you know, because we're looking.
Did you say 310-5.14?
Nope, I said 310-5-.
We're looking to go, 30 to, I mean, so the Kingston project is 30 to 80% of BMI.
310-5.30.
And they also utilize a $15 million grant, for homeless housing assistance
Oh,
program.
I see how it's.
It really, it is a housing project,
Duplex.
very much. It's not only for workforce housing, it's affordable housing through the entire spectrum. So, you know, it's not an apples to apples comparison, we have to set those parameters. What are we looking to do? Because when we put it out for the potential organizations to make a bid, you know, they need to know what parameters, they have to do a calculation, as to what they can do with what we're asking them to do. And, you know, that's gonna vary greatly. So, you know, that's another thing to look at. Another thing to consider is the lottery system. How is that gonna work? You know, how will the application/lottery system work?
But aren't we getting into the weeds? Like we said, we weren't
But
gonna.
this is the place to
But,
do it.
but, we're not in the business of landlord. This is the thing, like, we're jumping ahead.
So we give the property to a for-profit
No, but
developer and
duplex is
let
one and
them
two
figure it
families.
out?
But you're the one saying for profit, and I'm saying a developer. You said, before you said, you didn't feel comfortable with them having the building and management, okay? So then you said, you know, you have an issue with a for-profit, and I'm like, you said, well, your housing, I said, no problem. We're getting into the weeds at that point. Right now, you've asked the question about vision, right, and what is the makeup of it? So let's figure that out, get that done, move on to the next. When it comes to lottery systems, right, there is state and federal law that protects what people can and can't do in terms of who goes into what. And if it's based on AMI, we're out of that process. But again, I respectfully say to you, we as government should not be in the business of being a landlord. I don't know how many times I can beat that drum.
But we wanna get into we
We
wanna
want to
ensure.
be a facilitator and an incubator. We do not want to be a manager. There's a big difference.
But then if they sell us on workforce housing, veteran housing, senior housing, but only allocate one unit to each and the rest of that market
Then you
rate.
jack up the lease. That's why you have the lease as almost a pro forma, where if you say, okay, we have 60 units, and then we turn around and they say, well, we're only gonna do one unit, we're gonna only do one unit that's gonna be affordable housing, then guess what? That lease that they were paying, if they were paying X rate, the rate goes up exponentially. And you make it so painful that they are not gonna wanna do that. And plus, if they're doing it as, like getting state funding, because most of these places would have to get it if we're advertising that way, the state would come after them as well, because they didn't put out what was advertised and complete it as promised. So the town has a huge mechanism.
But we have to determine that before putting it out to bid. Otherwise, they're gonna come in with a wide variety of proposals, and, you know, it's not gonna be fair to the applicant, to the, I guess.
Is there a price point that you're, just from my own head, that you're looking to try to?
It's based on AMI.
It's
so-
based for, like, in terms of rental or for
Like,
what?
yeah, for rental, for an apartment.
For me, I don't know, because what my number and what AMI is, like, I'm
The
looking
only
at
reason why
whatever.
I'm bringing it up is because several months ago, we had a local developer that came to us that has,
Yes.
that has
Yes.
experience, has other units, you know, very reasonably priced.
Yeah.
And the only holdup, which we couldn't get by at this point, is zoning.
Right.
So we have a private developer that would handle all of this and exactly what we want, because we know, we all agree that we need housing.
Right.
We all agree that we shouldn't be necessarily involved in it.
Well, most of us agree.
There's gonna be,
Not all of us.
there's gonna be a natural limitation, I believe, because the only developers that would come in and develop such a project are gonna be keyed into the refundable credits associated with income limited housing. So there may be other regulatory realities, as long as it stays within the program, for them to get the refundable credits, it's gonna need to be catered to the particular income, you know, so that detail is something to be worked out.
So,
But this, and as far as the zoning, that if there needs to be a zoning change, there'll need to be some sort of a study or report that says whatever the board intends to do is in the best interest of the municipality and the people, not in the best interest of the developer. Otherwise, the zoning change is not appropriate. So there are some details that I think you do need to be established, you know, to go forward. But there's some natural limiting factors as to who's going to do what, and the details as to the actual structure of it. It would seem to be premature until we get a little further down.
So if we had a vision, and I don't know, like you guys weigh in, if we had a vision of, let's start with, we have 4 acres, we want to see 50 units, right? Of those 50 units, X percentage, 70, 80% has to be for veterans, seniors, and workforce. And then start from that standpoint. I don't know, but
So you're saying 50 units, 70% for veterans, seniors, and workforce.
yes.
For vet, are they all AMI related, meaning that can be a
Well, that's
veteran
how you-
as high earner and be
Well-
eligible?
Well, that's, if you're talking about specifically for those units in terms of affordability, it has to be tied to AMI. But if it's outside of the AMI, right, because remember, we're only saying 70%. So if you're a veteran and you're a high earning veteran and you still want to go there, there's still 30% of that property that you're going to pay market rate, or whatever that market rate is, in theory. Again, I could be way wrong, because I'm not a housing expert, but I read.
So we're saying that there's 50 units on 4 acres, and 30% would be at market rate, right? So that's, I assume that's gonna be advertised to the general public.
It has to be, that's federal, I mean, even the affordable or workforce housing that be marketed to the public, either way, all of it has to be marketed.
So of the 70%, do we break out how many are for veterans, how many are for senior, how many are for workforce?
My personal thought is, I don't think we should get into those weeds, because let's say if you break those out and you have a ton more seniors who apply for housing and no veterans, do you turn away a senior and say, well, we've got no veterans, we've got all these seniors? Like, you don't want to get into the weeds that way. That's why, again, as a government, we don't screw this up. You say, here it is, 70%, however that makes up, it goes. And then we leverage the thing. We leverage the police, and that is coming. We leverage the police based on their performance to what we want. And as long as they're performing to what we want, their lease stays at a nice rate. The minute they go outside of the parameters, we make it so painful, they're not going to want to do it.
Right, so we set the parameters, and then in the contract, we don't have a insurance.
1,000%. You guys all, are you guys all, Miranda?
Yes.
Is your vision sort of what they have?
You have to speak up,
Yeah, no, it's nicely done. I don't know what it looks like, but what I saw there, I'm like, it's not good enough for Fallsburg. I don't know what it looks like, but it has to be a place for people around the phone home. And not that the projects look bad in Monticello, Elmville, I've seen those. But
Really nice.
they're nice, but not good enough. Not good enough. When I see it, I'm like, that's it. But I haven't seen it. I know, that didn't make sense. I can't explain it beyond that.
I thought this was probably, I thought it was really large scale.
See, what we can do is make it 40, like, it doesn't have to be. Yeah, I mean, I'm not stuck with
Allowing open space.
Yeah, gotcha, because like, again, this is just,
There's gonna be one big possibility.
and God, I don't want that, because that's just gonna be a disaster for all of us, and like, it'll just be a disaster, right?
What about the other, state.
do that.
You know, that would work, having the sensor again?
What's over?
Yeah, so,
That's a very large piece of property.
First of all.
but that's a nice property to develop.
There's a big field in front of it.
You know what, I can ask the question, because the fields might be a good spot. If you guys don't mind me asking the question of the state.
See, that's a suitable location, 50 units on 4 acres, just,
There's no way to do that.
Without a
and accomplish
building.
what you're
Right.
looking
Yeah.
at,
Like-
other than making one big, large building.
And I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anybody wants
it'll
it.
be the first mid to high-rise building in
Yeah,
Fallsburg.
I don't
It's
want
gonna
to
be
do that.
nice.
No, we don't, no.
And I don't think we should do that.
You,
Yeah.
you.
I don't think so.
Shouldn't break all of our own zoning laws to accomplish something we want to accomplish.
don't really think you have to go this over.
We could try.
Maybe the fields though, they used to use them as farming, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
it's
they
nice,
haven't
that's
used
nice
them,
open space over
and they
there.
haven't used them in years.
no.
So maybe the fields.
They used to raise cattle there and the prison system used to, they work with them.
So if you go that route, my thought would be writing a formalized letter that we all agree on and saying, you know, as a board, we would like to see if the state would entertain giving the fields to the
It's a very
town.
large piece of property, maybe they would break off 20 acres.
Right, and, you know.
And that's a
portion
good
of-
site for 60 units.
Right, and then you can use that as a model as moving forward.
Where's it gonna tell you, no?
That's pretty much it.
Right.
All right.
I mean,
The
what
other-
else they can do with this, sell it to
The other
a
location,
private?
yeah, right, the other location that we don't own, which would be fantastic, because it's been sitting now for years, is the old Browns Hotel.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I mean,
Yeah, but you know
That's
it's
zone
gonna cost a ton of
business.
money to take it down.
It's own business.
The last board just rezoned it, business district.
Just rezone, yeah,
Oh.
rezone this.
Yeah, we'd have to put that back to, HR. Yeah,
And then we gotta figure out how to remediate the asbestos.
there's asbestos there.
That's what I said.
I think the prison would, I don't see how anybody would really complain about using that site for this.
Right.
Even people that would.
It says
be against
dormant
it.
otherwise.
Right.
otherwise-
It's been that way for years, and it's public, it's visible, and we can make it nice. And again, Nathan, I don't know what it looks like, but what there's
The
a,
only reason why I asked that
Yeah.
is because that piece of property, even though I think it's a really beautiful piece of property, unless it was a very small scale project which doesn't accomplish really what you're looking to do, there's no way to really make it something that I think people would really.
but what if you started with small? Like, what if you started,
Project is a
it's
beautiful
massive,
project.
but what if you
You know,
started
4
small?
playgrounds, solar, you know.
Right.
I mean, if it's a small scale, and with 15 units on that piece of property, it could be really nice.
But, you know, it could be something, if you start and have it where it's repeatable, right? That would be the caveat for me. Can we repeat this?
All right.
All right, so the direction is what?
Reach out to see.
Reach out to the state. I just wanna make sure that we're all on the same
Yeah.
page.
I want to say, I think it's 1,000 acres.
What,
I think it's in.
We don't need that much.
No, I'm just saying that I think it's so large that maybe there's a deal to be made for 20 acres, which is what we probably need to do something that spread out.
Kingston's 164 unit is, project is on 20 acres.
Right, yeah.
Is that something,
Yeah.
okay,
I think we could all feel good about that.
okay, all right. So that'll be the next, move, is reaching out to state. Perfect. Thank you. Okay.
All right, so to be continued. All right, so we don't have any more discussion items on the agenda tonight.
I would just like to thank the board for the appointment. Secondly, I accept.
Yeah, we forgot to do that part.
That wasn't an option.
And the other thing that I'd like to request from the board is that when I first joined the zoning board 27 years ago, every member got a booklet or a binder.
We're working on it.
of
You're working on it.
zoning
Yeah.
Got
laws.
you, we're working
I
on it.
would like everybody to
Yeah.
have that.
And welcome
Yeah,
back.
Thank
the
you, yeah,
Department of
thank
State
you.
puts out a guide on zoning.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, I'll entertain a motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
Motion.
Do we have any
Yeah,
executive?
we did, Rich, we're good?
I wanted to discuss that litigation report from Dylan today.
everyone especially. Did everyone get that email?
Everybody got it.
If that's the case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much for coming tonight. See you in 2 weeks.
No meeting next week.
Yeah.
Huh?
There's something I have to give you.
So-
Kristen?
What do you don't have
I focus. Miss Kristen? I have something. You want it?
Another thing?
Yeah.